Not as good as me.
How much did that moment mean to you coming off the court, being able to hug your father, 500 win family moment?
Yeah, so when I came off the court the first time when he subbed me out, I honestly like forgot for a second because I was just so happy we won. And then Patrick was like, yo, 500, and then I went back to him. And then when we were out on the court afterwards, like that was special. You know, because you get in like the heat of the game and you're kind of just competing and you don't think about it as much, but after a game like this, the way that we did it, how special the win was, the way we competed, I feel like that's kind of exactly how he's always wanted like his teams to play, and so I think it's just a perfect win to exemplify number 500. And so being there, like my mom, my sister came out, Jack was out there, it meant the world.
What did it mean to do this against Iowa State, play the way you did against Iowa State after last year's game there?
Yeah, no, we watched that film and we saw a bunch of stuff from that game and we were not happy. Definitely went into all kinds of motivation for us. They got us. I felt like last year they did to us but we did 2 times that to them tonight. I felt like we got them back for sure, because I do think, you know, last year we got out competed. They crushed us on the glass. We turned the ball over. They got the 50-50s. It was just not a good night for us in our program. And tonight we were the aggressor. We got the 50-50s. We out-rebounded them. We had way too many turnovers. 18 turnovers is insane for us. But again, credit to them because that's what they do. You know, they're number 1 in the country, turning teams over. But I mean, we just completely took them out of what they wanted to do. And you know, that's something they pride themselves on, is being the team that's going to take you out of your stuff. And I feel like they didn't really get to do that, and we were the aggressor.
Where did you find the time to view what happened last year, considering you got back at 5 in the morning yesterday?
Yeah.
Class and practice.
So we watched film. Like we came in yesterday, and we didn't do anything on the court really. We did, but we didn't go live. So that left a lot more time for meetings and stuff. So we got here, watched film on the Duke game, and that was not a good film session. So we were all kind of pissed off. And then we go out to the court, come back, introduce, watch film. Then we went to dinner, came back after the girls' game, watched film again. And then today when we came in before shoot around, watched film, went to shoot around, came back, watched film. So we got them in.
You see this quite a bit in sports where when a star player is out, everything sort of, the vacuum gets filled up by everybody. But how do you do that?
You know, I think it's just kind of the next man up mentality in a way. I don't know if everybody else feels a little bit more empowered and more free to kind of shoot different shots. I really don't know what it is, because you're right, it does happen in sports quite a lot. You see guys go out and there's all of a sudden, you know, some guy plays a lot better than he normally does, or whatever the case may be. You know, I feel like we shared the ball, we moved the ball, and just played well offensively from the start. We all played confident, you know, because I think we all saw, like, when people were saying that Chris was out, we saw kind of, especially after the Duke game too, we saw the hate, and you know, we kind of just felt like, hey, like we know what we got, we know who we are. Just come out, we're gonna make shots eventually, and that's what we did tonight.
Connor, I mean, you guys didn't allow a field goal, I think, for the first 6 minutes. I think they had 4 points in the first 10 minutes. I mean, I guess probably one of the better defensive performances you've been a part of. But what was the key to really just shutting them down early? Was it ball pressure? Was it better communication? Or what were the keys to really kind of get that strong defensive start going?
Oh, in my opinion, it was our job on the glass, if I'm being honest. They're a team that they miss, but they go get them back. And last year, that was the problem. If you watch the film from last year, they missed a lot of shots, but they got they had 22 offensive rebounds. Like, that's insane. And so that was our biggest key. And you look at I looked at the numbers, I think it was 4 minutes ago or something, and they had 12 points, but 6 were second chance, and then 4 were off turns. So they had 1 basket. And that was the difference, in my opinion, was the job we did on the glass. And that was, obviously that was our number 1 key coming into this game after last year. So I would say that was more of it. But obviously our intensity played into it too. I felt like we came out and really played hard.
500 is a real milestone number. How or why has your father been able to win 500 games?
He's just a really good coach. He just knows, we run good stuff. He's a really good recruiter. He always identifies talent really early in the process. The people that like the media doesn't even hear about, that he's on so long before anyone else, and then they blow up. Like, it's insane, the stories I could tell. He's just really good at his job, and I mean, it's just that simple. Like, I think you ask anybody, I think they're gonna agree with that. He knows what he's doing, he knows how to lead a team, he keeps us motivated, and he'd have more than 500 if he wasn't an assistant for, 12, 13 years, whatever it was at Notre Dame. And he's come, and he also, pretty much everywhere he's been, he's had to rebuild for the first couple of years. So that's more seasons where you would have had more wins if he was kind of in the same spot. So I mean, I think it's a great milestone, and I'm happy, especially on a game like tonight.
A little more on Fran. He was just telling us about the sacrifice you have to make as a coach's wife, a coach's son. From your perspective, what does that look like, and how is it worth it, especially in a moment like tonight where you're so emotional with your family?
Yeah, it is tough, because I mean, there's always different times where I've been guilty of this, like being more worried about the team winning than myself maybe doing well, and that's just very candid. And I just think that like those kind of things can kind of creep into your head, like over time. You're so like it's more than like just playing on a team. It's like your family, like that's like your family's well-being. So I think that just adds like another level of pressure that a lot of people don't really understand. And so I mean, I feel like it's something you got to just deal with, and kind of there's definitely things you can do to manage that, but it definitely is something that like I've struggled with over the course of my career. But I mean, just because he always like instills confidence in all of his players, and so like for Patrick and I, sometimes I think that maybe wavers like a tiny bit, just because we get caught up in the moment, like in a game like this. But I think tonight we just handled that well, and kind of showed in the way we got the W.
When you first sat down, you asked us how we were doing and said, not nearly as good as me. Is that a combination of all the things, doing to them what they like to do to other teams, the 500, the families? Is it just a culmination of all that, or is there anything particular that stands out among those things?
I mean, this is just such an emotional game. There's so much that goes into it for the state. There's so much. I mean, actually, there wasn't as much preparation as we normally have, but it just this game means it just means more, especially like being from here. And we got a lot of guys from Iowa on the team who really played well and gave us good minutes. So I think that just the fact that it was Iowa State, like being in this game, I wanted to go out. I didn't want to be 3-2. I wanted to be 4-1 against them. So I was happy with that. There's just a lot of things. 500, like being with the family, there's kind of like you said, there's a lot of things that go into it. I was happy with 8 for 8 from the foul line, so I was happy with that. No turns. So I was happy with myself. I was happy with the team. Happy with my family. Happy with the win. All the above.
If you guys are without Chris for a little bit, this is the type of team you have to be. I guess the identity you have the way you played tonight. Good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think playing as hard as we possibly can, pressuring. I mean, at the end of the day, making shots really helps, right? Like we made 12 threes. That's a huge difference in the game. And we really hadn't shot well. If you look at even against Seton Hall, Clemson, Georgia Tech, our other 3 wins, we did not shoot the ball great. We just played better defensively on the glass. And then against TCU and Duke, we shot bad and got kicked on the glass. So we know kind of we knew what was going on. And there's obviously other intricacies throughout the entire game that we can handle. But I mean, to have a game like this where we break out and shoot well, we kind of all felt like it was coming. Like we were like, like we're a good shooting team. We're gonna make shots. Like let's just keep doing what we're doing, getting good shots. And I feel like a big part of that was the beginning of the game, Phillip handling the ice and the double teams the way that he did, always making the right play. Because he set the tone. He made them stop icing. They had to stop icing because he was just making the right play every time. Because they really try to get you on that side and force you over there, and he just dominated that. So that was ultimately
One or two more.
Connor, you talked about Phillip. I mean, he got endured a lot of criticism last year. It was tough to,
Say it again.
Phillip endured a lot of criticism last year.
Yeah.
He had big shoes to fill, obviously, but all offseason, I think you were the proponent of, you guys need to see Phil. He's making big strides confidence-wise. Hit a couple threes tonight. I think the most physical guy, wearing out multiple bodies. Is this the Phillip that you were talking about in the offseason? How have you seen him progress over the course of the season?
No, absolutely. I mean, with him, I think last year it was always confidence. Like you said, he had massive shoes to fill, and I feel like we didn't do a good enough job telling him, like, hey, like, you can't fill those shoes. Like, that's different. But like, you can be yourself. Like, you don't need to try to be Luka. You be Phillip, and I feel like that's what he's doing this year. I mean, he's just a worker. Like he's just got a tough mentality. He's just really mentally tough, and that's what I love about him the most. Like if you had to have me pick one thing that I appreciate the most about him, would be like just the way he competes. Because he takes absolutely zero shit from anyone. Sorry.
Last question.
When you were in the locker room, I mean, were you pouring water on your dad? What happened?
Oh, they dumped the whole bucket. It was crazy. I told Riley, like, they had 2 giant things, water bottles, everything, and I was like, it's gonna be slippery. And I just fell down, get hurt, something like that. It was cold, like, my feet were soaking. I took off my shoes. It was crazy.
All right, thanks, Connor. Thanks, everyone.